Hello friends, this is Meg at Chasing Retro. I'm coming on today to make some tags and journaling cards from some vintage wallpaper that I've had in my stash for a little while. I purchased it probably last fall, and I've had it rolled up, and I'm just so afraid that in storage it's going to become torn and crushed and folded, so I am finally going to do something about it today. It is a rainy, cold day, and there's nowhere I need to go outside of the house, so this is a great project for taking care of this afternoon. Let me show you the wallpaper real quick. I'm going to link the Etsy shop below where I purchased it. I don't remember right off the name of the shop, but I'll link the shop below. I don't know that she has any more because I think she had a limited amount, but perhaps she'll come across some more and list some. But these are just absolutely delicious prints. I love them. They are made by Imperial. One of the things I hope most to find is a wallpaper book like this in the wild, but you know, I don't know. I'm going to enjoy what other people have found, even though I have to pay just a little bit more probably to get some sheets from it. I want to try to use the sheets to the best of my ability and not waste a square inch of it. So as you can see, these are relatively large patterns. So I think what I'm going to do is create some large journaling cards and tags for the most part, just so I can get as much of the pattern on a single thing as I can. That probably limits what I can use them in, but I really don't want to cut these apart too much. This one is an exception because it is an all over pattern and smaller. But I think I got the pink pack and the blue pack and the yellow pack that she had listed. So as you can see, they're just gorgeous, absolutely stunning. Those were the 4 yellows, and then here is the pink, same design, just, you know, a different background. This is one of my favorites, the pink with the aqua. It's just absolutely stunning. Pink stamped gingham type print, and then this beautiful, very springy looking pattern. I will probably use the tags I create out of this in my spring and Easter journals that I'm doing with Lou at Designs by Lou. So Lou, you'll be getting a tag made out of this most likely if I can get it done before I need to mail your package off. This is beautiful as well. I love blue and yellow together. I want to make a blue and yellow floral journal at some point. This one is probably not my favorite. If I had to say one of these is not my favorite, it would be this one, but still, it's very pretty. It literally looks like it's been hand painted onto these papers. This one is gorgeous. It looks like the pattern that you would see on a vintage box springs or something. That's why I like this one. And this one honestly could pass as a modern one, but it's still very pretty. And backgrounds like this lend well to, say I wanted to put a sewing pattern model on a tag. This one, I would not feel bad about covering some of this up. I don't think I would do that with one of these florals. So I have pulled out, to get the most bang for my buck, I guess you would say, or most amount of square footage with the least amount of effort. I decided to use 12 by 12 papers to back them instead of, you know, 8.5 by 11. I don't have a ton of plain 12 by 12 cardstock. In fact, I pulled out all the ones I had that are light enough, maybe not the purple, but light enough that they can be used to write on the back without having to use a gel pen. And so I've got some whites and some pastels here. We'll go through and we'll decide which one goes well with which wallpaper, and we will start gluing them down. I have decided on this coral colored paper to go as a backer for this top page. So we'll set the others aside for now. Since I'm going to be gluing onto the back of this, I'm just going to use this as the backer for putting glue on here. Sometimes I use wax paper to protect this, just so I don't have to clean it as often, but when I have a sheet that's bigger than what I'm gluing, I just use the sheet itself. I go through these glue sticks so quickly, and the price jumped on them. I hope they have come back down. I think I'm down to 3 more after this one. This one's almost gone. I don't know if you guys have noticed the price of glue sticks being a little high. I like gluing on colored paper like this because you can see where you've been. It sort of darkens the paper a little bit. So I don't rely on glue sticks to glue down something completely for the most part, because I feel like that the staying power is not great. But for things like this that I know I'm going to sew the outside of, then I will definitely use a glue stick, because glue sticks don't really buckle up the paper or make it, once it dries, it lays pretty flat and it doesn't bubble up. If I'm not going to sew it, sometimes I'll run a thin bead of another type of glue around the edge. Okay, so I'm gonna get as close to the edge as I can. There's a little bit of tearing here, so I don't want to exclude that. And I'm gonna line it up perfectly with what's at the top. Don't want to waste any of this beautiful paper. And then I have this little, I don't know what this is. I think this is for a vinyl machine, but I use it sort of as a squeegee to spread the glue out and make everything stick down. Sometimes I use an old, gift card or something. Occasionally, if I don't want to use this, I'll use a paper towel, but this generally works pretty well. And I'm going to set this aside and let this one dry. I don't like to start cutting the shapes of the tags and cards out until it's dry, just because I don't want to gum up my scissors, really. No other reason but that. Okay, so now we have this beautiful green. Part of me was wondering, should I save some of this for making a journal cover out of? But honestly, this is going to show how much of a chicken I kind of am. I get so nervous when I make covers. I'm afraid I'm not going to cut it straight, or I'm not going to fold it right and the corners aren't going to look good. That, honestly, I don't feel confident enough to say I'm going to use this as a cover. Plus, I will get, as much as I like the outside of the paper being on the outside of a journal and I can enjoy it more, I will get a ton more mileage out of this paper if I make cards and tags with it. Granted, I won't have any on the outside of the package, or the journal, excuse me, but to me that's okay. There's more time for me to find more wallpaper, and in that time I hope to get more confident in my journal cover making. So that's my logic anyway. I don't know, maybe you guys are screaming, you should make this into a journal cover. But there will come a day, I'm sure, where I feel more confident in that area. I'm just now starting to feel confident in my fabric cover journals, but I feel like using something like this that I only have one piece of, it just makes me so nervous. Okay, I think this green would be really cool as a backer for this one. It's good that I'm getting all of the names of this on camera as a sort of posterity marker. So if I ever want to search for this exact book on eBay or something, I know what to look for. The corners are often neglected by me. I think I did not get glue all the way to the corners on my last one. So y'all excuse my nails. They are peeling really badly. I knew I'd be using lots of glue today, so I didn't bother with changing out my nail polish last night. All right, we're down to the very last millimeter of this glue stick. But I think we can figure out that we can at least get this one page covered before we throw it away. All right, that's the end of that one. Here we go. I don't know what this is. It might be vinyl on the outside of this, but it's starting to kind of flake off. Feels almost like a Teflon tape. I don't know, maybe that's what it is, so it won't stick. All right, I'm gonna put the rest of this on fast speed because this is sort of a process that doesn't require speaking through the whole thing. So I'm gonna put it on fast speed and then we will move to the next step. Okay, so I have trimmed all of the pieces. They are now 12 by 12 bolstered pieces of vintage wallpaper. Super cool. The next thing I do is not start cutting. Off camera, what you didn't see is I took these to my scanner and I scanned all of them. Of course, I don't have a 12 by 12 scanner, but it completely covered the scanning platform, so I have full res, high res, large 8.5 by 11 scanned images of all of these. I ended up saving them as a JPEG and as a PDF, depending on what I might want to use later. Unfortunately, I can't go sell these or even give them away because they cannot be used. The copies of this cannot be used in journals for selling. I mainly scan these for personal use. So I will be printing and reusing these for journals that I use for my own personal journaling. But before you do anything, cutting up or making into anything using original wallpaper that's this gorgeous, always see if you can scan it first so you don't lose the entire large image. You have them forever. Okay, so what I have here is some tag templates, sort of. This is just a large, like, it was I think it was a card that came in a package of die cuts or something. It was the backing piece, and I cut it into a tag shape. And then I have had these for a while. I have used these as templates for many months now, but I'm going to make some large, wide journaling tags using this template, and then with what's left over at the top of the page, I'm going to make some shorter ones that are not so wide. And really, ideally, it'd be nice to be able to just put this in your paper slider and cut it. If you have a guillotine cutter, that might be an option for you, but I hesitate to put wallpaper like this in a slide type cutter because the risk of that blade catching and pulling and ripping this paper is pretty high, and I don't want to lose this. So I'm going to do it the old-fashioned way and hand cut these by holding tightly down to the page this template and cutting them. The only thing I will lose are these little triangles, but that's okay. It's sort of a tedious process unless you enjoy cutting. I find it a little bit, I guess, calming to cut things out like this if I don't think too much about what I'm actually cutting. But the last cut is the hardest because you have to try to see if you can cut without cutting into the next tag shape. There you go. So now we have this gorgeous, gorgeous tag that we can take over to the sewing machine and sew around to bolster the edges. And then if you want to embellish it, you can put a hole and a reinforcer and some ribbon, or you can do 2 holes and tie a bow. You can just sew a strip of fabric or a ruffle at the top, or you can leave it plain. It's just a beautiful tag. So no matter what you do with it, it's going to be pretty. I use my really sharp scissors for this. This is probably my newest pair that I have. I think us junk journalers all have our favorite pair of scissors and maybe our sharpest pair of scissors. So I use my sharpest for this. This part will make you a little bit crazy if you don't. Also, it's very hard to see white on white. So if you have a template that's more contrasty, it might be easier for you. Absolutely stunning. Now, if you'll see here, I don't have enough to do a full one, so I'm gonna see if any of these other ones that I have will work. Let's do this. I'm gonna line it up. And now I can just cut straight across. I've got a little bit of a hangnail here. Okay, so here we go. That's our last one on the bottom row. Now for the top, we don't want to lose any of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start cutting. I might can get 4 out of this. I'm going to line this up at the top here. I'm going to, obviously it's going to go past it, but that's fine. I just mainly want to make sure I get the top. You know what? I don't think this tag is, it doesn't look to be, this template I've been using, I don't think is symmetrical. So let's switch to this one. Does this look any better? I think it's better. Yeah, let's do this. Now, check the bottom. See, I've got a little rogue piece here, so I'm just gonna line it up again where my cut mark starts, and I'm gonna trim that off. I really like that one. I like the way the flower is to one side. All right, let's go to the next one. This one's not gonna be quite so pretty because there's no flowers at the top, so I wonder maybe if I should turn it this way. Let's do that. You can go back and forth. You don't have to have them all the same direction. That way it will look like the flowers are cascading down from the top. Well, we lost a good bit on that one, but that's okay. It's still a beautiful tag. This one will be pretty also. These little pieces like this, you don't have to throw them away. They would be, you know, trimmed up just a little bit. They would be fine to put on a master board or something, you know? I'm telling you what, when you have paper this pretty, you find a way to use every tiny little piece. Yeah, I think I'm gonna do the same thing with this one and turn it upside down. I will save this piece for a master board. Okay, so this one is my last one. And all I'm gonna do with this one, because I really don't need a template anymore at this point, I'm gonna trim off the bottom pieces. And I'm just gonna do like I do with any tag that I make from scratch. I'm gonna cut one side off, rotate that piece and put it on the other side and cut that. So now we have a short, fat tag that is absolutely beautiful. I think you guys get the general gist of what I'm doing, so I'm going to pause the video here and I will come back when all of them are cut out and sewn, and we'll talk about whether or not we feel like we need to decorate anymore. And I have finished sewing the tags and journaling cards. I love the way they turned out. I left a few unembellished for decorating later, maybe according to the journals that I will be putting them in, but wanted to show you the finished product. I just used a setting of 3 straight stitch on my sewing machine in a white thread so it wouldn't be too obtrusive to the design, and sewed around the edges. And I went around the curved edges on the sewing machine with the journaling cards that I rounded the corners of. This one is a wealth of possibilities because you can put things on top of that print. This one is, I love the way these turned out, even though it's just a small fraction of the whole image. I think it's really cool when you break it up like that. It sort of makes you focus more on the details when you do that. This one I ended up rotating a certain way because when I realized what the tag was going to look like, I was like, oh, the top of it can be mainly unadorned and then have flowers near the bottom. So, and here's 2 more. Let me show you real quick the ones that I decorated or added an embellishment of some sort to. I used my Crop-A-Dowel and punched a hole and used my hole reinforcers for a few of them, including this one with the orange ribbon. I really like this one a lot. On this one, I used some vintage yellow Grosgain. and it's a beautiful maize color, which is very similar to this. And I just folded it down like a tab and sewed it to the top of the tag. And I used pinking shears so it wouldn't unravel. I don't think this tag needs anything else. Oh, this one is unembellished too. This one I used some, I think it's called Picot ribbon, and put a little pink reinforcer sticker on here. So beautiful. It'd be beautiful in a little girl's or a baby girl's journal, or any journal really. It's just so lovely. On this one I punched 2 holes and I ran some thin satin ribbon through it and tied a bow. And I just think this one looks so 1950s. I'm just smitten with this tag. I probably will have to hold on to this one for a while. And the last 2, I had a little bit of fun with my sewing pattern, ladies and kids. This is from a very old pattern. It's one of those where the paper had discolored so badly on the other side that it almost looks like craft paper. It's just, I guess it had been sitting in heat in the attic or something. But she was okay. She has a little bit of pencil on her, but that's fine. And I used my little case with snipped phrases out of books. I love choosing those to go with my images. You don't have to go buy the quote sticker books with the quotes. You can find your own in, you know, discards from books that you rip apart to get the cover for making a junk journal cover. That's one of my favorite things to do, is to look for little quotes or sentence fragments that I can put in my little bin. But this one says small things. This one says, dear, I had a lovely time. And I just thought this looked very 1950s. So I wanted a 50s looking lady. And yeah, that is what my afternoon has yielded. The hardest part, honestly, is deciding to glue down and then cut up your much coveted and loved wallpaper pieces that you might have found or bought. The second hardest thing to do is to let go of them by putting them into journals. So I don't know what it is about I don't think it's just me. The junk journaler has sort of a scarcity mentality. I feel like it sort of is in us from our grandparents. I know my grandparents were children and teenagers during the Great Depression, and my grandma had a very scarcity mindset. My grandpa did too. You know, you didn't throw it away. You fixed it. You reused it if you were able. You add something to it to make it last another 5 years, 10 years. And I feel like as a junk journaler, I'm doing the same thing. I'm sort of like, well, I've done all this work to make this. I really don't want to have to make it again for a while, so I'll just hold on to it. But I really need to get better about letting go of some of my things and letting other people experience the joy and the, I don't know, just the satisfaction that I get of salvaging old things of beauty and making them into something that is useful once again. Obviously, you're not going to, you guess you could, but most people aren't going to buy enough of this vintage wallpaper in the same pattern to wallpaper a room. But you can use it in ways like this and prolong the magic and the beauty that it gave decades ago in your own way. That's one of the greatest things about junk journaling. I hope this gave you some ideas and some bravery to grab your hoarded pieces of vintage wallpaper and create some beautiful oversized cards and tags. I hope you guys have a lovely day. I'll see you next time.